We want you to plan for success. Welcome to Planning Matters Radio.
Hi folks, we're here today with Peter Richon. He's the founder of Richon Planning. You can reach him at 919-300-5886 or online at richonplanning.com. That's www.rich-on-planning.com. Today we'll be talking about financial resolutions with 2020 ending, and Peter will be here to give you his advice on what you can do to end 2020 and begin 2021. He's a master registered financial consultant and fiduciary advisor. You can hear him nationally each week on radio giving financial guidance, and he's also a Dave Ramsey Smart Vestor Pro, serving Southern Wake County to Fayetteville, and author of the book, Understanding Your Investment Options. So let's get into it. Hi, Peter. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Kim. Thank you very much. I hope you are.
I am. Glad to have you here. And as we said, we're going to talk about the end of 2020 and what we can start doing in 2021. And
finally, right? The end of 2020.
2020 will be a better, the end of 2020, I think a lot of people are looking forward to and hoping 2021 treats us all a little bit better.
I hope it's not Groundhog's Day, right? Bill Murray, where next year is kind of the same as this year and repeating itself. Hopefully, yeah. I think a lot of people are breathing a sigh of relief that the end of 2020 is almost here. Hoping it doesn't give us like one more present before the year ends, right?
But that.
A lot of people are also looking to sort of get things on track or back on track in 2021, right?
Exactly.
We all make those New Year's resolutions as we get close to flipping the calendar page. And if you want to actually stick to your resolution, then you should probably start acting on it now, not waiting till January 2nd or January 1st to start trying to implement it. Go ahead and think about what you would like next year to look like now, and then be proactive and try to make those goals smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, right? You got to make it relevant.
Realistic. You can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say you're going to save $1 million in a year. That might not happen.
Not for all of us. Maybe some of us could,
maybe,
but
I don't know about myself, but realistic is very important.
Realistic goals has to be key, but smart, measurable, meaning that you can actually know when you have done it. When have I actually achieved this goal? Achievable, relevant, and time bound. So instead of saying I'd like to save $1 million for retirement, that's kind of just out there, and we could hope for that, and when are we going to do it by? Instead of saying that, hey, I would like to save $500 a month in 2021,
because it's realistic, it's achievable, and you'll stick with it.
Yep, and you have a higher likelihood of actually achieving that goal. So smart resolutions, and then some of the things that people are worrying about, or some common financial resolutions are getting out of debt, paying off those credit cards, right? Making a budget and sticking to that budget. That's a challenge for many of us. But I'll tell you, the budgeting really is the key. It is the structure. It's the foundation of all other financial progress you can make. You have to know how much is coming in.
Financial planning, that's
absolutely.
Part of planning is looking at it ahead of time.
Yep. And if retirement's a goal for you in 2021 or sometime in the near future, I would encourage you to start examining your budget. People who have made a higher income sometimes forget about budgeting, but when you are walking away from the paycheck, I promise you that budgeting once again becomes paramount to the key to success in retirement, in making your savings last all the way through the duration of your lifetime. So adding to your emergency fund, that's another very common one. But again, make it specific, not just I'd like to build my emergency fund. I would like to have an emergency fund of X number of dollars by this point in time. And to get there, my smaller resolution is I'm going to save 1/3 of that in January, 1/3 of that in February, 1/3 of that in March. And by April, I've got my emergency fund in place. Yep. Tracking your net worth. That's a big one. A lot of people say, hey, they got what I call the Waffle House plan, sort of scattered and covered, right? I've got an account over there. I've got insurance over there. I've got an IRA. I've got a 401k. I've got those things covered. but they don't really track it and they don't bring it together into the
They
comprehensive
don't see
plan.
the whole picture all together because they're
Yeah.
not doing that. Mm-hmm.
So go through a planning process. And I think all of these things are important for your total financial progress, staying on track or getting on track in 2021 and making the most of the year ahead.
Mm-hmm. Great. So you've already given those great ideas for resolutions. What are some of the other things that you would recommend people do um, as they are getting planning for the end of 2020 and moving on to 2021 come January 1st? You have a few other ideas that,
Yeah, well, I think there are some other things that are less commonly thought about.
mm-hmm,
There's a lot of typical resolutions that people make, but there are some things that are maybe under the radar, so to speak, that are very important.
right.
Check in with your advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And during 2020, I have to say candidly, and with some disappointment, that a lot of people didn't hear from their advisor during 2020. They did not hear from the person that
And
they count and rely on.
why is that? Did they not reach out, or did the advisor just not have
Unfortunately,
them on
yeah.
his radar, his or her radar?
Yeah, I think so. And especially, I think that it's important. It's a relationship, right? When you
Right.
are trusting somebody with your money, with your planning, that is a relationship. I think in that relationship, under normal circumstances, it's important to have regular communication and an open dialogue. But especially in a year like 2020, when the market lost 30% of its value at one point in time, if
Mm-hmm.
you did not hear from your advisor, if they did not proactively check in with you, it's kind of an indication that something is awry and something is missing in that relationship. And maybe an indication that it's time to sort of review the plan holistically and get a second opinion.
Yeah, that's
Um,
great advice. Or maybe find another financial advisor if they're not looking at your best interests.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed, and I think that's a big one. Somebody who's looking out for your best interests during a time of, let's call it what it was, financial crisis.
Yes.
They're going to be checking in with you,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's a pretty strong indicator that, hey, it's time to step back from that and maybe get a second opinion, maybe seek outside financial guidance counseling. Updating legal documents. I have to tell you, Kim, when I am talking with folks doing reviews, oftentimes I'm not a lawyer, but what
Right.
I find is that they have not taken care of those important legal documents. Hey, I can set up the best financial plan that exists. I could be the best planner, but if they have not taken the steps to
Mm-hmm.
protect themselves and their family with those legal documents in place, I tell people quite often that's the highest priority on of our whole conversation that should be on your checklist that you need to take care of by next week.
Especially in a
And
year like 2020, where there's a lot of people that unfortunately didn't make it till the end and may not have had all that stuff in place. And now their families, besides grieving them, are
yep,
um,
in a world of hurt
and
from a
trying to
legal
figure out, yeah,
perspective.
where's all the
Yep.
paperwork? Yeah.
Yeah, those legal plans were stress tested
Hmm.
in 2020, and a lot of
Exactly.
them did not pass the stress test. So, passing away, who your assets go to, a a
Hmm.
lot of a lot of accounts have beneficiaries named right in them, but a lot of assets, specifically often your property, your houses, your real estate, your possessions, those don't have beneficiaries named. So that's what the will is about. And
Hmm.
this being the uplifting conversation that it is already, I'll tell you, death is not the worst of all possible outcomes.
Right.
So if you're incapacitated, who's writing the checks on your behalf? Who's making the decisions about medical care on your behalf? That's why it's important. Every responsible adult over the age of 18 needs a will, a medical directive, power of healthcare, power of attorney from a financial and a medical standpoint. And there's a number of different ways to tackle that. You can speak with a lawyer. I've got relationships with several in town, good ones that I can recommend.
Great.
Dave Ramsey has his site. It's kind of generic. It's a fill in the blank document, but it can get the job done, right?
In a
Um,
crunch, in an
yeah,
emergency.
yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. So, and then I deal with a lot of military families down toward Fayetteville and Fort Bragg. Those military families can often get it done on base for free. So there's really no
Yeah,
excuse why that has not been taken care of.
that's great advice. Again, we're here talking with Peter Richon, founder of Richon Planning. You can reach out to him at 919-300-5886 or look him up online at www.richonplanning.com. And that's spelled like rich on planning. So again, reach out to him at richonplanning.com. Now let's get back into it. We talked about legal documents. We talked about checking in with your advisor. What other things should people consider making sure they have in place for the new year?
Sure. Identity theft protection. In
Mhm.
today's digital world, unfortunately, we are more exposed than ever before. So identity theft protection, credit monitoring services, that's going to be an important one. Shredding older documents as much as possible. Let's destroy that paper trail that could jeopardize our identity that's out there. Tax returns, anything older than about 10 years, you can go ahead and shred it and get rid of it. Most anything else, unless there was a dispute, anything older than about 7 years, you can go ahead and shred it and get rid of it. Start now on all of these things, by the way. And I think that's key. I mentioned not procrastinating, but starting as early as possible. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. You got to take that first step to get it going. Finding higher interest rates. And this is a big one that I've helped people with toward the end of 2020. I saw a lot of people with a large amount of money sitting in a bank account earning 0.01%.
Yeah, that's not doing much for you there.
1/100th of 1%. And there's 3-year fixed protected principal walkaway products that are available right now paying 2.4%. So we could literally increase your rate of interest by 240 times, just really quickly and easily. That's going to make an impact and a difference. So improve your interest rate, eliminate fees, do a risk review, understand how much risk you are exposed to. And if you saw a major decline in your portfolio value back in March of 2020, that's probably a pretty strong indicator that you're taking a large amount of risk. You need to be aware of that and comfortable with that. Improve your physical health as well. And financial health is a lot like physical health for a number of reasons. You could buy all the books on physical health that you wanted to read, but unless you act on them, you're not going to improve your physical health, right?
Or
Same
your
is true
financial
for
health, right?
Same is true for financial health. Yeah, you could do all the reading you want, but if you don't act on that advice, you're not really going to make any progress. Also, the goal for a bodybuilder and a yoga instructor both could be said to be physical fitness, but the way that they're going to achieve their individual and specific goal is going to be very different. The yoga instructor is probably eating a low calorie, low carb diet. The bodybuilder might be eating $20,000 or 20,000 calories rather.
A day,
but before breakfast, that's the pre-breakfast meal. So, they've got a very different approach to achieving the same goal of physical fitness. It's their definition of that is different. And the same is true financially. Your goal may be very different than your neighbor's. And the way that you go about achieving your financial goals may be very different than your neighbor's. And that's why I think it's important for everybody to sort of sit down and review their individual set of circumstances with a qualified, experienced planner. And that's what we're here for at Richon Planning. And I'm happy to hear from savers and investors who are looking to make that progress. Pick up the phone, give us a call. We'll get an optimized retirement plan in your hand. It's simple, 3-page, easy to understand review. It timelines out what your action items should be, what your priorities should be, and how you should go about achieving them. So give us a call, and I'm happy to sit with you. I offer a complimentary review consultation, and we'll get that plan created for you so you can refer back to it during 2021.
And like you said, each person has an individual plan. There's no one umbrella plan for everybody. So it's great to sit down and figure it out together, what your goals are.
Yep.
Just like with
we plan for a lifetime, not for a year, by the way. That's I know that we sort of have short attention spans. So we tend to want a finite kind of achievable goal. Again, smart resolutions, the plan should be smart as well. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. All of those are taken into account when we're putting that plan together. But the plan is for a lifetime. It just needs to be reviewed and updated on a regular basis. So sitting down
back to that advisor, reaching out to them years, because like with everything else, plans change and things happen. So having somebody in your corner to help you when those things do change. Are there any other things that you would recommend for people to do in 2021? I know we
read a financial book. I think is a good one. And, I may be a little biased here, but I think the book Understanding Your Investment Options by Peter Richon could be a good one to start with. All joking aside, the cover of the book, it says the most important book you'll read this year, and then important is scratched out and it says boring.
It's
the
you want somebody to put you to sleep at night too.
Most boring book you'll read this year. It's not riveting. It's not a page turner. It is the cure for insomnia. But if you have a question about why would I choose a mutual fund versus an ETF, what's the correct mix of a bond or fixed income in my portfolio versus all stocks? Why are stocks different than mutual funds? Why do I hear bad things about annuities? What type of life insurance is the right type for me? Where is there a place for gold in my portfolio or cryptocurrencies? What's the difference between a checking account and a savings account? And when and how should I?
The basics are just, people have questions just on the basics too.
And that's what that book is about. It is, if you've got a question about a specific topic, you turn to the table of contents and it says, okay, here is why you use a checking account. What's a checking account used for? And a general gauge of the risk that you're exposed to and why a checking account would even have risk at all. And that describes it. And real quickly, you can have at least an informed conversation about your different choices and the options. So if you'd like to read a financial book, an additional little value added incentive to take action, to get off your seat and make a call and get a plan in place for 2021, I'll give a free copy of that book for anybody who gives a call today.
That sounds great. And again, if you want a free copy of your book, you can call Peter Richon at 919-300-5886. Okay, so you mentioned risk, and what are some of the things that you would like to caution people about too?
Well, a lot of people have not rebalanced their portfolio in a very long time. And so specifically where I see this most often is in what is our largest retirement savings opportunity for many of us, our 401k. A lot of people have had a 401k for 10 or 15 years. And when they got hired, the advice they got was add the lines up to 100%. Choose what investments you'd like to invest in. Make sure the lines add up to 100%. And that's the last time that they've looked at it. So just to keep things very simple, if we were hired back in 2010 and we chose a portfolio that was 50% in equities, in risk in the market, and 50% in fixed income, because we had a moderate comfort with risk. We didn't want to risk everything, so we went half and half. Well, since 2010, the market has tripled in value. Right? So we're no longer within our risk tolerance. That side of our portfolio may now constitute 90% of the balance of our 401k. And therefore, when a market downturn happens, it impacts us more significantly. And so a lot of people just aren't cognizant of the amount of risk that they're taking. And so a risk assessment is part of our planning review and our optimized retirement plan. And that's something that I think really everybody should take a look at once a year, is doing a full-blown analysis and risk assessment. And again, it's part of that optimized retirement plan. You can get that in your hands. It'll tell you how much risk you're taking, because when you open that 401k statement, it doesn't say, hey, Peter, you're taking 90% risk here. It's just not written in red and bold at the top where it's easy to understand that. So that's another big one.
Also help them decide what their risk tolerance is just by asking them questions and figuring out how they feel about the stock market, what they know.
And the true measure of risk is how much are you willing to lose, not how much are you trying to gain.
Wanting to gain, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't look at it that way.
What about tax law changes?
2020, actually, the very first gift that it gave us was the Secure Act. It was a law that was passed in the last week of 2019. It went into effect January 1st, 2020. This completely changed the rules about how retirement accounts operate. And a lot of people didn't really realize what it said, what it did. And it proved yet again who's actually in control of our retirement accounts. It's not us. Right. It's the folks up in Washington. Yeah, it is not up to us. What the Secure Act did, it gave us an extra year and a half of available tax deferral. At age 70 and a half, people used to be required to start taking money out of their 401ks or their IRAs. It pushed that back to 72. So they gave us an extra year and a half. But on the other hand, it took away generations of available tax deferral. It used to be that when I passed away, my son and my son's son, my kids and my grandkids could continue to defer that taxes. Now, when they inherit my tax deferred account, they must liquidate it within 10 years. So literally generations of available tax deferral were wiped out like that. And a lot of people had planned on that before January 1st of 2020. They now need to revise their plans completely.
And that was with all retirement accounts, or just
All tax deferred retirement accounts. There are all tax deferred retirement accounts. There are a few exceptions. If you've got special needs beneficiaries, then the opportunity to stretch those out may still be available to you. But generally, when an IRA or a tax deferred account goes from spouse to spouse, no, that's fine, no problem.
They're not
But when it goes to second generation beneficiaries, now we've got to worry about how much of a tax impact are they going to have, because they've got to liquidate this account on top of their regular income.
Right.
So very easily we could be bouncing our kids up several tax brackets.
Yeah, so I guess it depends, how good those kids have been, what you want to do to them during your
Some people don't care. Hey, I'm leaving them money. Hey, I'm leaving them money. It's there. But you know what? I find that people generally want to be pretty efficient, and they would much rather their kids get extra dollars than Uncle Sam get more of a larger share of their money.
Especially when you've worked hard for it and, want to keep as much as you can. Again, we're here with Peter Richon, founder of Richon Planning. You can reach out to him at 919-300-5886 or on the web at richonplanning.com. It's spelled richonplanning.com. And now, what kind of advice would you give people, again, looking forward to 2021 to be successful? Do you have a formula for success, or what they can do? Some routines maybe that they can.
Yeah, good habits, good routines. Consistent savings, I think, is a big one. Budgeting, finding activities outside of the home. That might be for mental well-being as much as anything. And last year we didn't get to do a whole lot, but small vacations, local, go to your parks, go to hikes in the woods, things that you can do while still being safe. I know the vaccine is on the horizon, and hopefully we can get back to more regular kind of gatherings. But for right now, I think still a lot of people are trying to maintain health and safety. And so small vacations, reading, waiting is always good. If we are an instant gratification society, but if we can delay that urge to buy and purchase right now, I give myself a 24-hour rule. If I want to make a large purchase, guess what? Usually if they see the item sitting in the cart for 2 or 3 days, they'll send you a coupon for it anyway. So maybe you get a little discount, but usually I decide, I didn't need that as much as I thought that I really needed it, and don't make the purchase anyway.
Right. That's great advice.
Make your payments on time. Obviously, that's a big one. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, a lot of people got derailed on making payments. Let's catch back up on those folks. And if you need help with that, from budgeting to investment, account management, and retirement planning, we'll help anyone who is serious about improving their financial outlook. So again, I think that the best routine you can get in is checking in with a financial advisor, an experienced, qualified professional. It's the accountability. If nothing else, you've got somebody to lay the plan out and to hold you accountable. And going back to my parallel with physical fitness, I can say that I'm going to go to the gym, and I can even make myself get up and go there on a regular basis. But having a personal trainer, having a buddy even that's going with me to hold me accountable to showing up when I say I'm going to show up, that's what our job is on the financial world. We're there as that buddy check to hold you accountable to what you say you would like to achieve.
And making that commitment to, I know for me, when I go to the physical, go for a bike ride or a run, I know I'll be there when I commit to somebody else. So having a financial advisor in your court will definitely help you in your future.
And again, another big one I would say is read that financial book. If you'd like to get started with understanding your investment options, we've got copies here available at Richon Planning. Happy to give those away. We're right behind Biscuitville. If you stop in, we'll even maybe buy a biscuit and a cup of coffee for you and talk about your financial outlook and your planning, what your goals are.
Great. Again, we're here with Peter Richon, founder of Richon Planning. You can reach out to him at 919-300-5886 or www.richonplanning.com. You know, he offers the exclusive Rich on Planning Optimized Retirement Plan. And again, we appreciate all the advice and looking forward to 2021. And if you like what you hear, give him a call.
Looking forward to hearing from you, helping in any way that we can. 919-300-5886. richonplanning.com is what it looks like, Richon Planning. And we're looking forward to helping you.
Great. Thank you.
This has been Planning Matters Radio.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookzone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.